This conference will now be recorded.
Well, good morning, everyone. First of all, I want to thank you all for taking time out of your busy schedules to join us here today for this call. It's my pleasure to welcome you to probably close to our 100th Nacogdoches Stakeholders call since these initiatives last year. For those of you who don't know who I am, I'm Wayne Mitchell. I'm the President and CEO of the Nacogdoches County Chamber of Commerce. I do want to remind you folks that this call is being recorded and that later today it will be posted on the Chamber's, on the Nacogdoches Chamber YouTube site for those that couldn't catch the call. And we'd invite you to invite your colleagues to view it if they would like to. I do want to let you know that the media is also invited to participate and we'll be monitoring this call. And we generally have between 2 and 3 or 4 media stories as a result of the calls. So I just want to let you folks know. From a process standpoint, I want to let you know that we will ask you to put all of your phones on mute until our featured presenters conclude their remarks. If there's any questions, you're certainly welcome to ask them. Well, having said that, let me introduce you to a new friend of mine. His name is Glenn Hammer, and he's the President and Chief Executive Officer of the Texas Association of Business, of which this chamber is a proud member and provides a variety of services to chambers all over the state, and we're delighted to have him lead our organization locally. Glenn comes to the Texas Association of Business after 14 years as CEO of the Arizona Chamber of Commerce and Industry, where he led the state's business community to numerous public policy victories, helping Arizona become one of the country's most competitive economies. In Arizona, Glenn played a central role in major tax, education, legal, and healthcare victories, and a nationwide leader in the business community's advocacy for the passage of the United States-Mexico-Canadian Trade Agreement, known as USMCA, which this chamber took a position in favor of. And that was the successor agreement to NAFTA, which we all remember very fondly. Recognizing the global race for talent to keep the economy strong, combined with our nation's declining fertility rate, he's also a recognized champion for reforming our country's broken immigration system, and certainly Texas has a major stake in those decisions. He's provided extraordinary leadership on the state and national level. He's very active in the U.S. Chamber, I'm pleased to say. He also is the chair of the Committee of 100, which is the 100 top chambers in the country, and provides great leadership to that part of the organization. He's been a sought-after participant on international trade missions, and along with critical trips to Mexico. So it's with great pleasure that I welcome Glenn Hammer to our Nacogdoches Stakeholders Conference call, and welcome you to Texas as well, Glenn. Good morning, sir, and it's your stage.
Good morning, and Wayne, thank you for that very warm welcome, and I very much appreciate everything that you and the Chamber have done and continue to do. You mentioned some of my work in Arizona to make Arizona one of the best places to do business. Well, Texas is the best place to do business, and the numbers bear that out. 17 straight years, a major chief executive organization has found Texas to be the best place to do business. Site Selection magazine for 9 straight years has found Texas the best place for economic development. And you know, a lot of the policies that I worked on in Arizona, not all of them, but a lot of them came from Texas, and particularly when it came to civil justice and tort reform around the country, people talk about how Texas has been a leader on that. And I'll talk about a couple of those efforts in a few minutes. And what I'd also like to do is make sure that there's some time for Q&A at the end. The big ticket item, and you know, Governor Abbott made news yesterday, and in fact, he was just on Fox News a few moments ago, was Governor Abbott's decision for Texas to stop accepting the $300 federal supplement to unemployment insurance. Now, when the pandemic started, it was clearly the right thing to do to have the federal assistance supplement state benefits. We all know too well how many good people were thrown out of work or furloughed through absolutely no fault of their own. And many of these individuals were at the height of their earning power. Because if you go back 13, 14 months, the Texas and really the US economy arguably was at its highest point, if not in history, in decades. So, but we're at a different point right now. One of the great success stories in the country and really in the world is because of American ingenuity. Any adult in the state of Texas, any adult in the United States of America, and really right now it's anyone over the age of 16, has access to a vaccine, has access to an American-made vaccine that provides great protection against COVID-19. So what's happened very, very quickly is that through good policies from governors like Governor Abbott, is that the economy of the United States has come back a lot faster than many people had thought possible. If you recall a few months ago when Governor Abbott declared Texas was back to work and did things like removed capacity restrictions and mask mandates and things like that, he was called some pretty mean names, including from the President of the United States, or at least his actions were derided. And then you fast forward to today and yesterday, the news is very good in terms of hospitalizations, in terms of infections, and in terms of just the strength of the Texas economy. The economy is again booming, but what's the constraint? Right now, the constraint is the ability for a lot of employers, particularly in areas that were hardest hit by the pandemic, such as restaurants and hotels and theaters and entities of that sort, to get workers. I look forward to getting outside of Austin after this session is over, but I can tell you in the city of Austin, the help wanted signs are all over the place. And they're not for minimum wage. They're for 17, 18, 19, 20 bucks to start. Now, it was a long time ago. I started my career as the assistant bun flipper at my local Burger King in Jefferson Valley, New York. I made a dime more than the minimum wage. At that point, arguably, maybe I was even overpaid, given what I brought to the table. But this is at a completely different point. And what's important to point out is that when Governor Abbott made his decision, he relied very heavily on the Texas Workforce Commission. And sometimes statistics are a little bit difficult to put together. But what he found out is when you looked at all the different evidence, there are now more jobs open in the state of Texas than there are people who are unemployed. So this is the time to get the Texas economy fully up to speed. We need to make sure that the incentives are in place to encourage people to work. So I'd love to talk a little bit more about that later. At the Texas legislature, there's a lot of progress being made on bills that are core items and I believe measures that we all support. There's a very strong likelihood that in the next week, well, it has to be in the next week or two, that we will see very strong COVID-19 liability protections reach the governor's desk and the governor will sign it. There has been bipartisan support for this effort. We feel very strongly that no business, certainly no small business, no healthcare provider, no healthcare worker, no school, no university, no community college should be sued out of existence because they did everything they possibly could under changing regulations to keep customers and employees safe. But we know that there are hundreds of lawsuits that have already been filed in Texas on these cases. And it's very important that there be a liability shield in place that's retroactive to the beginning of the pandemic to protect these businesses. And I'm very confident that Texas will do so. There's about 30 states that have already passed very strong pandemic liability protections. And this is not a blue or red or purple state issue. We have states of all different stripes that have passed these protections, and I'm confident Texas will as well. Universal broadband. You know, one of the things we all learned during the pandemic, I think most of us realized this before, but we realize it more even now, is how important broadband and internet access is. And probably the most bipartisan effort moving through the Texas legislature is the effort to create a broadband office and then to establish a plan for the distribution of hundreds of millions of dollars of funds that are likely to flow from the federal government. The time is now to do so. I would argue that passing the legislation is just step one. As important will be to make sure that those funds are distributed in a manner that benefits the entire state of Texas. So I believe this will be something that is going to be very important for us to work on with all the chambers in the state of Texas to make sure that after the office is established, the funds are distributed in a way that's acceptable. When I mentioned the incredible Texas run as being the best state for business in the country, one of the reasons, yes, Texas has a great tax and regulatory environment, but also Texas has used economic development tools, and I'm talking Chapter 312 and Chapter 313 very, very effectively. And last session, Chapter 312 incentives were extended. There's a need to have at least some sort of extension on the Chapter 313 incentives. I'm confident that will happen. In what form is still yet to be determined, whether it's 2 years, more than 2 years. We're going to push for the most the most robust number of years that we can possibly get. One of the major lifeboats for businesses, and this is where the federal government and the United States Congress and the president last year came together beautifully in a bipartisan basis, was to create the Paycheck Protection Program. That has been a massive success in Texas and across the country. On the federal side, there was a successful move to make sure that those proceeds would not be taxed on the federal level. It was a privilege to have a chance to be with Governor Abbott last week when he signed legislation to exempt Texas businesses from the franchise tax that have accepted PPP loans. So that was, we felt, a very important step. Our K through 12 system, at any, I could say any state chamber, there's always the need to make sure that there's adequate resources in the K through 12 system, in the community college system, in the university system. I know that last session HB3 passed. That was a big deal. It's very important that those funding commitments attached to that landmark legislation are met, and I'm very confident that will occur. During the pandemic, I mentioned broadband, the importance of having a good broadband policy, but we learned other things that we can use. For example, when I order takeout now, I make sure I get margaritas with my tamales. Governor Abbott just signed a bill to the Restaurant Association and a lot of chambers strongly pushed, which will make that situation permanent. And that should be a positive to the revenue for a lot of companies and restaurants across the state of Texas. We also learned the importance of telemedicine. And I believe there's a very good chance that there will be the waiver that Governor Abbott instituted for many of these visits will be made permanent in some fashion by the end of the session. Real quick on the federal side, there will be other trade agreements. I think that probably the next one will be with the UK, which has an economy about equal to the size of Mexico and Canada. And again, I just wanted to thank your chamber for the strong support of the USMCA. I was really proud that in Arizona, we were able to get the entire delegation to vote for that landmark agreement. And then I learned the entire Texas delegation voted for that landmark legislation. Now, I've only been in Texas for about 11 weeks, but I know that not every member of the delegation agrees on every issue. So that was quite an achievement. And I think that that force on a trade coalition is going to be very important to be put together for the next one that comes down the line. And with Texas being by far the largest export state in the country, we export more than California and New York combined. I learned that from my Uber driver when I was interviewing for this position, and he was actually spot on. Free trade and fair trade is going to remain a very important item. Immigration is also going to be very, very important. You know, one of the things we want to do is make sure that we get a permanent resolution to DACA recipients. We feel, you know, Texas has over 100,000 DACA recipients, probably twice the number in terms of who would qualify as dreamers. We need workers. We need great people, and I am confident that in this Congress, in a bipartisan way, something strong and fair will pass. And I want to just say that the Texas delegation has a number of leaders in this effort, and Senator Cornyn in the Senate has been very thoughtful in how he's approached this. And we also, you know, need to fully reopen our borders for all lawful commerce. You know, it's as people are getting vaccinated, the border communities in the state of Texas, and I certainly know as well in the state of Arizona, they need for these regions, Laredo, El Paso, you could look at in Arizona, Nogales, for these areas to fully function and for the states to fully function, the borders need to be reopened for all commerce. And I would expect, we've signed several letters to the administration requesting them to do so. Wayne, I really appreciate the opportunity to be here this morning. And with that, I'd love to turn it over for any comments, questions that the group may have.
Well, thank you, Glenn. I appreciate that snapshot of our current legislative activities on the state and federal level. Glenn, how does TAB negotiate the challenge of determining legislative priorities when you have such strong metro areas and such widespread rural areas of Texas? Is it a challenge to balance the priorities of those two constituents?
Yeah, it's a great question. And one item I was remiss on mentioning, because when I mentioned civil justice, you know, the top item on the docket is the Keep Texas Trucking effort to curb abusive lawsuits that are really harming not just truckers, but a lot of small businesses that rely on goods to be transported. And I'm confident a good bill will reach the governor's desk that he will sign. But Wayne, I believe that, you know, good state chambers, what they do is they listen. So, you know, for example, on the border opening, I had the great opportunity to participate in a Laredo chamber Zoom meeting a few weeks ago. They said this was their top item in terms of making sure that the borders were reopened, because, you know, they get so much tax revenue from our friends from Mexico visiting shops, staying at hotels, shopping at stores, things like that. And on the unemployment insurance benefit issue, you know, I've had the chance to now visit with a lot of different chambers from across the state in Austin that have made the trek to visit with lawmakers here. And I would go through my spiel of these 4 or 5 top items, and then I would open it up And what I heard from many of these chambers is that their number one issue was that they couldn't get workers. And one of the reasons, not the only reason, but one of the reasons was the $300 federal supplement. So we immediately, communicated those concerns to the governor's office, the workforce commission, state legislative leaders. But Wayne, to me, the sweet spot for state chambers are finding these policies that are beneficial across the board. So COVID-19 liability reform fits that bill. Making sure HB3 is funded fits that bill. Broadband and Wi-Fi and telecommunications access fits that bill. But our goal is to have policies that are beneficial across the board. I'm not saying that there aren't some exceptions to that, but to me, the meat and potatoes issues should be the types of issues that your chamber finds acceptable and is even maybe enthusiastic about as much as any other chamber in the state. I just feel, I will admit I missed this question. I was asked in my interview how many counties Texas has. And I said, well, I think it has more than 15, which is the number of Arizona. So, but when I was in Arizona, it was very important to make sure that all the policies we were pursuing benefited the entire state. And that is even more important here in Texas, because in Arizona, the economic distribution is really Phoenix and Tucson in terms of a huge percentage of the state. In Texas, it's really more dispersed, so it's more of a challenge. And I would just say that I'm going to rely heavily on your help, because I'm really I'm learning as I go along. And by the way, this is not a state; it's a country. This is a big place.
And I just have one quick follow-up, and then I'll open it up to the group. And that is, are you satisfied with the engagement of local chambers? I mean, I'm still, from time to time, a little surprised at the chambers that don't engage in the public policy process.
I'm grateful for the ones that do, and my early read is that there's more participation and organization in Texas than other states. And I want to thank Aaron Cox of our shop, who is the executive director of TCCE. It is the only way for Texas to continue to be the number one place for business is great participation from chambers of commerce. You think about all the institutions over the last many years that have been hit hard and have deteriorated. I would argue that the chambers have been able to withstand that decline. And the reason, Wayne, is because of chambers like yours that provide great service to their members, but also importantly, care about the community, are civic minded. And one of the things I made clear when I came to Texas is that, and one of the reasons I wanted to come here was because of the strong relationship between TAB and the chamber community. We have to continue to stay together on certainly the key meat and potato federal, state, and local policies.
That's great, thanks. Any other questions for President Hammer? Not all at once, State Control Group.
I'll ask one, Wayne. This is Donna McCollum from Channel 9 News. We've done lots of stories about how businesses have utilized the federal security programs and that sort of thing to help them get back on track. As the recovery continues, what do you think are three things, and I won't limit you to three, but what are three things that businesses as well as consumers can do to guarantee or at least push along a good recovery from the pandemic that actually is still going on?
That's a great question. In terms of the I would say, sometimes it's making sure that you don't overstimulate the economy. And that's why I do believe that Governor Abbott did the right thing to say no to the federal UI supplement. Again, very well intentioned and certainly necessary at the beginning of the pandemic, but right now it's really harming the ability of businesses to scale up, and for some small businesses to be at the capacity they need to stay open. I mean, we don't want to see small businesses go out and employees lose their jobs because they simply can't scale to the level of activity they need to make a profit. I do think you're seeing a lot of good bipartisan engagement on the issue of child care and helping those with lower incomes deal with issues related to child care and the cost of raising children. You see a lot of bipartisan momentum in that area, and I do think that's going to help as we see some of those federal dollars flow into child care to help people get back into the workforce. I think continued focus on all things related to workforce, and I'm talking community college, vocational schools. There's clearly changes happening very rapidly in the 21st century economy, and dollars spent in reskilling, upskilling workers are dollars well spent, in my opinion, wherever they're coming from. Those are sort of my initial thoughts. And then things like, you know, again, today, President Biden and his administration could say that they're lifting the restrictions on lawful commercial activity across the border. Why not do it? I mean, we're, you know, any adult in the state of Texas who wants to be vaccinated has been. It's time to, you know, completely reopen the economy. So, you know, some of these barriers that have been put in place that made a lot of sense 12 months ago make zero sense today.
Great. Any other questions for President Hammer? But if not, Glenn, first of all, I want to thank you. I heard in your presentation you have some Northeast roots someplace along the line. I'll confess to you, it's great to hear somebody I can actually understand, being a Maine boy. I really appreciate having you on board here today. The second thing I want to do is let you know that the Nacogdoches Chamber every other year, and it'll be next April 8th, 7th and 8th, hosts the Lone Star Legislative Summit here in Nacogdoches, where we have between 40 and 50 senators and representatives from all over Texas come join us. We do this in conjunction with Stephen F. Austin State University here in town, and it's a wonderful 2-day event. And your predecessor joined us 2 years ago, and I would be hopeful that you could find time to join us and to be a part of it and be a presenter at that event. I think you'll enjoy Nacogdoches, and we'd enjoy having you. So thank you. Any final comments?
Wayne, it would be an honor. You know, we're going to end this legislative session in large part thanks to your help with a stronger business climate than we had before. It's exciting to see the economy fully return, and you know, thank God for chambers of commerce across the state of Texas for their steady hand and leadership. And it's humbling to be here. And Wayne, I'm going to rely very heavily on your help as I have the opportunity to move forward. Thank you.
Well, let us know what we can do to help, and you're welcome to stay on this call. We're going to hear now from the city manager of the wonderful city of Nacogdoches, Mario Canizares. Good morning, Mario.
Hey, Wayne. Good morning. I hope everybody's doing well. I'm sort of in a different location. We are doing budget reviews with all the department heads. So I got fire chief across the table from me and our finance director to my right. So they're hiding from you all. But hey, my report's gonna be really quick, and then I need to step off. Tonight we have City Council starting at 4:30 with a workshop, just to give council an update on some of the planning strategies and studies that we've been working on. Just kind of give them an update on where we are and how do they want us to proceed with those projects to move forward or not. As I mentioned, we will have our new council, our new mayor, Mayor Jimmy Mize, along with Kathleen Ballinger, will be seated tonight. And then another quick change that we're making with council is they're all going to be seated at the dais. So we are now moving forward. Everyone feels comfortable all meeting together at their normal places. So we'll be back sort of to somewhat normal policies and set up with City Council tonight. So that'll be exciting to see. And we were discussing this morning with my department head team, just following CDC guidelines to start removing the mask suggestions and mandates for the public and for staff. Certainly if staff feels comfortable wearing masks as they're interacting with the public, or if the public comes in city facilities and if they feel comfortable wearing masks, if they feel like they need to because of their situation, we will certainly oblige that and make sure everyone feels comfortable in our city facilities. But we are trying to adhere to the CDC guidelines and get us back to normal as best we can. With that, I got nothing else to report, Wayne.
Great. So do I understand, and this will just be helpful for our guidelines here at the chamber, that there's going to be the option of whether a person wears a mask or not, Mario?
Well, the way we had it up until, well, the last time that CDC, or at least the state, the governor issued those changes is to not require folks to wear masks if they didn't feel like it. So we were under the suggestion protocols that if you are suggested to wear it if you want to interact with in city buildings for the commuting public. For staff, if you were within that 6 feet range, it was required to wear it in city buildings and city functions. What we're doing is we're just following CDC guidelines. So if you're meeting internally or indoors and you've been vaccinated, then it is up to you to wear a mask or not wear a mask. And so we're just leaving it up to the public to do the right thing and wear a mask if they feel like they need to, but they're not required to.
Great, thank you. Any question of the city manager? Again, thank you for taking time out of your schedule to be with us, Mario, and good luck in your meetings right now. We understand how important those budget meetings are. So.
Yes, sir. Well, hey, thank you all and have a good one. We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you, sir. I'm pleased to welcome the Executive Director of Visit Nacogdoches, Sherry Chaney Morgan. Good morning, Sherry.
Good morning. That was sooner than I expected. I was singing a song in my head. Good morning. Welcome. The good news in Visit Nacogdoches, board positions are coming available. We will have 3 vacant positions on the CVB Board of Directors. Applications went live yesterday and are being accepted through June the 11th. So if you in your personal life or in your business endeavors feel particularly drawn towards hospitality and tourism and Nacogdoches and watching it grow and being a part of that, I encourage you to apply and get involved. Those appointments are made by mayor and council. So again, those applications are available on the City of Nacogdoches website. We have Ashley, not we, but Ashley Morgan in our office has completely and beautifully revamped the Visit Nacogdoches e-newsletter. And over in the chat section now, she's going to put up a link. I tell you all of this for 2 reasons. One, if you are not subscribed, shame on you, and you should be, and please correct that thusly. But also, if you ever have anything that you want to push out to the public at large, let us know. We've got a lot of followers and we are hungry for content over here. Just yesterday and today, Ashley is doing a little article write-up on the reopening of the Hayden Edwards house, new B&B, well, not a new B&B, but newly reopened B&B here in Nacogdoches. But maybe you provide a great service or any other major reason that you feel that being featured in our e-newsletter might benefit you or your business, let us know and we'll help you out. Okay, now I want everybody to dig deep in their Wayback Machines, and over in the chat section, I want you to write out the title of your favorite Eagles song. I'm gonna give you a minute, not really a minute. Okay, truthfully, that was like 5 seconds. That's the best you're gonna get for me. But already gone, a great Eagles tribute band out of the North Houston area is coming here in Nacogdoches on May 29th. It's part of our huge Memorial Day weekend blowout, and you need to be there. You need to hear this band. The band is comprised of a bunch of lumberjacks, all SFA alumni. They have deep ties here to Nacogdoches. We are so pleased and proud to present them to you guys as we launch Summer in Nacogdoches. Tickets are $10. They're available online, or you can come get a hard copy here at the Visitor Center. So come on. And on a more somber note, you know, Memorial Day weekend is not only the official start of summer, but it's also a time of reverence and reflection of the freedoms and liberties that we all enjoy on the backs of fallen men and women in service. And together with our newest downtown hospitality asset, the Stonehouse Kitchen, Visit Nacogdoches will be hosting a Fallen Comrades table on the backstage during next Knack Friday, as well as assembling a video presentation that will be on display by that ceremonial table. If you have a loved one who gave their life in service and would like for them to be included in that presentation, please email their name and photo and any information you feel comfortable sharing to Ashley, ASHLEY, at visitnacogdoches.org. And we'll get that included. And you can also drop those off at the Visitor Center if you're out and about, and we can just scan it in on site. And further, we're also encouraging those of you on this call to think of ways that you too can join us in this time of remembrance in honoring these brave men and women without whom we wouldn't be living in the greatest country in the world. So as always, it is an honor and a privilege to serve the city of Nacogdoches, and I thank each of you for everything that you do in ways big and small to help make Nacogdoches a great place to visit.
Thank you, Sherry. And it's so great for all of us to have these activities back on the calendar and so much ahead of us. Look at all those letters. And I believe Ashley posted the registration for that program. So it's in the chat section for your convenience. Thank you very much, Sherry. Appreciate that. My good friend and colleague from the Nacogdoches Area United Way, the president and CEO, Gary Lee Ashcraft. Good morning, Gary Lee.
Hi, back to my good friend and colleague, Wayne Mitchell. From the United Way, I'm going to sound like Wayne Mitchell. I just want to remind you that August 24th is our campaign kickoff. It'll be at Bonita Creek live. I don't care if you're right next to each other, hug each other, whatever you do, and imbibe a little bit. So we're going to do that. We have Kenny Arena heading up, as you know, our campaign plan. That would be my phone that I did not have muted. Okay, so I declined it. I'm now muting my phone. I thought that would be funny. So back to whatever I was talking about. We have an intense group of leadership that is going to be calling on sections like financial, like small business. You've heard about the small business circle or the 360 circle. We have a kickoff of that, by the way, in the morning at 9 at Party and Things. And Donna, Kenny Arena is going to be calling you about that. But we will have video and hopefully some news coverage of that. And Maury Littleton is going to lead that 360 circle off with a whopping big old check for $600. That's the top of the 360 circle. It's designed for smaller businesses who may not be able to put on massive workplace campaigns like Les Lineberger and the school system. Thank you very much in ISD for the United Way. Day of Caring is coming up. That's the one that we mobilize teams from places like Eaton Corporation, the city, others, E-Tech, and they go out and do wonderful things for our agencies like Boys and Girls Club. Last year we were involved in cleaning up Girl Scouts, the Girl Scout camp. We even went to Oak Hill Plaza and helped those folks out a little bit with their basketball courts. And the lovely and wonderful Coach Keller brought his entire team, and they played basketball with the kiddos there that had never seen a basketball player before like that. They're really tall, and it was a lot of fun. So we plan to do that. And then my very favorite is coming up, Do Dat Barbecue. That thing will be September 24th. We're starting the planning sessions now for that. Want to remind you, thank you, Joe Cephalo and the city of Nacogdoches, that will be at the A.L. Mangum Airport, Regional, National, International Airport. I just named it that. And we have plenty of room to have plenty of cooker teams out there. So put that on your calendar. That's going to be on a Saturday, and it will be a fun event. Jimmy Day, who I've just recently formed a strong friendship with because he runs R&K Distributors. Do I like beer? I do. They're going to provide the beer. It'll be a lot of fun. And then on a COVID note, I'll remind everybody that John Cannings with Solid Foundation and has teamed up with Anita Humphreys of the East Texas Community Healthcare Center, who was our speaker presenter, I believe, last week. And he is transporting generally people from underserved areas to help them get their vaccinations. Some of those kind of folk don't have transportation, or they don't really know what to do. So we're trying to go ahead and get everybody in Nacogdoches County and our region vaccinated and get us all safe and rid of this thing called COVID. I'm excited that we're getting back to a little bit of normal living and what have you. So I think that's all I need to talk about, unless y'all want to hear more. I'm on the speaker circuit now. You can hear me next at the Rotary Club of Nacogdoches, and I will be presenting Sharon Nettis there. I'll give you my full schedule if you like on chat. I'm just kidding. Thank you, Wayne, very much.
Thank you, Gary Lee. Appreciate that. Any questions, Gary Lee?
Yeah, I'll take a question. That'd be great. Shoot me a question. My height is 5'10". I think I used to be 6'4". There you
Hey,
go.
I have a quick question.
Who is that?
Gary, it's Sherry Morgan,
Sherry, what
long
do
time
you
listener, first time caller. Is there a way that we could find out more about the United Way and the good work that you do in an auditory way? Like, is there I don't know, like a podcast that people could tune into on a regular basis?
Oh, Sherry, you are my wonderful angel. Yep, the Gary Lee Ashcraft has a podcast show, and you can tune in to Facebook, I think, our Facebook page. And it's a rip-roaring event. I think my first one, we had 10 listeners. So I'll be appearing soon if we get Wendy Buchanan back from wherever she is, and we'll be talking about Cornerstone. But we plan to pick those up and have a new podcast every other week. I'm the character that kind of is entertaining, I can assure you. Someone, I think it was Kenny Rena, asked me why I called the United Way a bitch. And what I said was, when I started it, it was a bitch to run, because we didn't have all of you all helping us to manage this organization, which I've got some looks out there. Let me remind you that all we're in business to do is help those that need us most. And after we've helped them get financially stable, healthy, and educated, we hopefully will put them to work, because I noticed that Pilgrim's Pride and every other company in town has these signs out. If I get fired, I'm going to work for Pilgrims, because they pay $17.95 to get started, plus a sign-on bonus. And if you've been vaccinated, you get $100 for that. So, if you come to work for the United Way, that's not happening. But anyway, yes, Sherry, does that answer the question? Did I do that right? Sherry, by the way, is one of our top leaders for United Way and is a person that keeps me organized and on track, which is very difficult for her to do, my wife to do, and Caroline to do. But anyway, I'd like to thank Sherry publicly for all you do for your United Way. She's a board member and a very active person in our community. Thank you, Sherry. Okay, Wayne, any more questions of me? My shoe size is 13.
Moving right along, if I had a mute button, it would be hit by now. I love you, Gary. Hey, listen, I'm pleased to welcome the Communications Director for the Nacogdoches Independent School District, my good friend Les Linebarger.
Thank you, Wayne. Thank you, everyone. And gosh, I really don't know what to say following Gary Lee like that. Wayne, we might want to talk later about moving me elsewhere in the program here.
We can do that.
Okay. Hey, we have got a lot of things going on here in the last 2 weeks of school. And I can't believe I'm saying that, the last 2 weeks of school. What a year it's been. But, first and foremost, we've got graduation is next Friday night, May 28th at Dragon Stadium at 8 p.m. Gates will open at 7 p.m. Our graduates will each receive 10 tickets to use for friends and family, and that'll help us kind of control the number of people that'll be in the stands at Dragon Stadium. The tickets will correspond with which side of the stadium you sit on. They will be gold and gray tickets, and that'll be pretty self-explanatory once those tickets go out. And it'll apply to what side of the field your particular graduate may be sitting on. Now, granted, and considering the type of weather we've had recently, we've got some rain dates already in place for graduation. The first one would be Saturday, May 29th. The second one would be Saturday, June the 5th. And we'll make those calls based on the forecast several hours before the ceremony would actually take place. Also coming up in the next few days is this Friday, May 21st, is the annual scholarship assembly at Nacogdoches High School. Because of the fact we're trying to limit the amount of people inside the auditorium, we will that will be a invitation only event this year. And it's always such an uplifting, exciting event when you see these great things that our graduates are doing and correspond with the generosity of so many organizations in our community that fund scholarships. Next Wednesday, May 26th at 6:30 p.m. in downtown Nacogdoches is the senior parade. We did this last year out at the high school, and the students got in their cars and with their family and paraded around the campus. This year, we're going to do it downtown, and it will be at 6:30 p.m. In downtown Nacogdoches. And on May 27th, next Thursday, Malcolm Rector Technical High School will hold its graduation exercises. And it'll be a two-part ceremony, one part at 6 p.m., the next at 7 p.m. And details about all of these events will be on our website later today as well if you need to check in on that. But Wayne, it's a busy last few days of school for our students and our staff, but I appreciate the time. Thank you.
You're quite welcome, Les. And Les, well, I'll talk to you offline on this. Yeah, I might be discussing something that's not public yet. So, but thank you very much, Les. I appreciate that. Anybody else on the call that would like to make an announcement or? Well, if not, first of all, I want to remind you folks that the Chamber has a couple of activities. Today at 4:30, we're going to be at the Nacogdoches Cigar Company on Main Street at 4:30 for a ribbon cuttings, and we're really excited about that. So if you want to join us there, you're welcome to join us in person, or you can go online and participate that way as well. On May 20th, which is Thursday night, we're going to have a live after 5 at RV Outfitters of Texas. and we hope that you'll join us at 5:30 for that fun event. It's so great to have these events back on the calendar and going full blast on these things. If you need more information, I invite you to go to the Chamber's website and go to the event section, and you'll see that. And a week from, 2 weeks, I believe, from Thursday, a week from Thursday, we'll have eggs and issues, and stay tuned. You'll be getting a notification on that very soon. Any other questions, announcements, or comments? If not, I thank everybody for participating. I thank Glenn Hammer for joining us today. And we hope you folks have a happy and prosperous week. Thank you very much.